All right, welcome everybody listening from all around the world, all around this beautiful blue-green planet we call Gaia. Welcome everybody listening here in Australia, this beautiful country of ours. Welcome to the Mystic Drop, where each week we try and journey down the road less traveled by, as the great Robert Frost once poetically put. I'm your host, Roberto Roya. Joining me today is Karen SWAIN. Karen is a spiritual teacher, mentor, educator, guide, radio and podcast host for ATP Media, author, and inspirational speaker. She has been described as an activator, a magician, goddess, and divine conduit of wisdom. Karen helps people to integrate their human and spiritual experiences while also helping people to realize their true purpose in life and to be a difference maker. Welcome to the show, Karen.
Roberto, so great to be on your show. You've been reading my website.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
I'm like, where did you get that from? Oh, that's on my website with some of the testimonials.
I was looking at the testimonials and looking at your bio, and I thought I'd mix it all up together.
Good on you, darling one. I love the creativity. Good on you, honey.
Yeah, I did it with mixed it up with Graham Hood as well. Got to be creative with him as well a few weeks ago. So
I know you had a fabulous conversation with Graham. You were so sweet. I was listening to that conversation. You were so endearing. And I thought, oh, look at Roberto. Yeah, I think Graham loved talking to you. Graham's doing some amazing stuff now. He's busy lad now.
He's a true spiritual warrior in this time. So we need more of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
But before we get started, we've got a mystic drop incantation that I love to share with you. And it goes like this. Right. We are two cosmic spiritual beings sitting around the campfire, two drops of light from the Great Spirit. Truth is our path and wisdom is our teacher. We start with a salute, and now let our magic flow.
Love it. Love it. Salute.
Salute. So firstly, before I begin, I'd like to congratulate you on your podcast that you've got going. I've listened for a little bit now, and you're really helping humanity with everything that's going on right now, lifting the vibration. So I'd like to congratulate you on that. And tell us how it all began for you, this spiritual journey that you've been on from the beginning.
Wow, that's a big question, but thank you so much for your acknowledgement of that. Yeah, the podcasting, Roberto, and I honor you for what you're doing and with your show and getting the message out there. The podcasting is more powerful now than ever before. I started because in my 30s, I did energy healing courses because I wanted to expand my psychic ability and intuitive abilities. And what I found when I did energy healing courses was that I had always been psychic, and I believe we all are, but I just hadn't been identifying, different streams of thought as guidance and then ego thinking. I've just been talking to a client about that because we're all guided all the time, right? We've all got a spiritual team who are speaking to us, through us, for us. And we've got to sort out these streams of thought, because sometimes it feels like really good common sense and we can ignore it, right? And sometimes it's just our crazy mind going, what, where, why, how, So anyway, I did some, and I realized that the girl that was teaching me one of the healing courses had been married to a hypnotist. And she had discovered the different levels of the brainwave. And she called her work theta healing. Theta, we say theta in Australia. Which is a level of brainwave. And what I realized is all media puts people into like an alpha theta brainwave. And that means it relaxes you. Like if you've ever had a busy mind and you sit in front of the box or television or watch something, YouTube stuff, you actually are very relaxed when you're watching media or listening to music or got the radio on. Like when we drive the cars and we put the music on, it relaxes us, puts us into a theta brainwave, which bypasses the logical mind, and the messages go straight into our subconscious and become our programming, right? Television, and they have programs. So we're being programmed. And when I realized that most of the messages that are coming through our media system, televisions and, well, now the internet, of course, were negative and fear-based, I'm like, damn, I've got to do something about this and like start pumping out some different messages. So that's like why I went first on radio, wanting to teach people about their powers of creation and that we are powerful, deliberate creators, and not to get caught up in the noise of the collective programming or the collective hypnosis, if you like. We're just we're all being hypnotized. And I have never seen that more powerfully happen than in the last 2 years, right, Roberto? Like, whoa. It's like I knew it was happening, but just the last couple of years. And so I honor anyone who's going on media to pump out some different messages, you know, some more empowering messages. And it's more important now to use that media system to have people open their minds, you know, open their minds. So for me, Mum dies. I'm a teenager. I watched her sick, and I watched her fight. You know, I came from a very dysfunctional family. Mum and Dad were trying to kill each other, and then Dad leaves Mum for like a pretty young model, like a 20-year-old model, and Mum basically hated herself to death, and it took her about 5 years to die. And I just watched her hate Dad and hate everyone and hate herself to death. She wasn't a lovely person, because she was funny and endearing and beautiful, but she just got caught up in her own negative thoughts of not enoughness. And she put a lot of value in her looks, thinking that her looks would see her, you know, through life, but she was very beautiful. And when her husband leaves her for, you know, 20-something-year-old pretty model, she realized that her looks were not that powerful, because they weren't going to keep her husband around. And so she gave me powerful lessons, Roberto, about life, you know, that we can't put all our eggs in one basket, if you like. We can't see ourselves as our body or our intellect, that we are so much more. And so when she's dying, I'm thinking, why do people get sick? These questions were born in me. And then when she died, I'm like, where does she go? Like, where do you go when you die? And if we go somewhere, we come from somewhere. So what is that place? And it really put me on my spiritual path, just watching her hate herself. And so lots of questions were born in me that took me on the journey of answering those questions. You know, when I'm young, I'm like any young person wanting to go out, get drunk, party, and have a good time. Yeah. But then there were things along the way, like my flatmate said to me, I'm like 23, I think. She said to me, I booked a massage course this weekend, but I got a job and I can't do it. And it cost me a couple of $100. Would you like to do it? And I'm like, no, not interested in that at all. Not interested. She's like, please, you don't have to pay. You know, it'll be on me. Please, please, please. I don't want it to be a waste. And I thought, yeah, okay. So I did it because it was free and everything. Anyway, and the guy that was running the massage course, he and his wife were doing it. And so I'm young, I'm like 23. I'm thinking, how do I, you know, be successful and crawl up the corporate ladder and make money? It's like any young person thinks, like, how do I make money and be successful? But this guy had been working in the corporate world, and he and his wife were crawling up the corporate ladder and making money and be successful, but they were just totally stressed out the whole time. They were just stressed. So they were achieving their goals, but they weren't happy. And that stress sort of hit a chord, and they quit their corporate job and did a massage course and then started teaching people how to massage. They were making probably a third the amount of money. They were living in a much simpler home. You know, they got rid of their mortgage and everything, but they were really happy. And I remember thinking, this guy's onto something, you know, this guy knows something. I've got to listen to this guy. He knows something that I need to know. And I think that it was that message of follow your dream and don't follow the course that other people set for you. Like, don't that success and be successful and all that sort of stuff. Like, so I looked into more alternative health. It's funny because I came into this world as a healer, and I've been a healer in many lifetimes. But, you know, when you're young, you haven't got a clue about who the hell you are. And these things happen. These synchronistic things
part
happen.
Of the journey.
Right.
Yeah.
And I embarked on a, 5-year full-time naturopathic course. And I found myself signing up, like after a 1 weekend massage course, I signed up for 5 years full time. And it was expensive in those days. It was like $3,500-4,000 a year. I didn't know where the money was going to come from, but I found myself doing it. I didn't even know what I was doing. But I found myself
just trusted in it.
Yeah. I just loved this guy's passion for what he was doing. I found the course fascinating, the whole body thing, massaging the body, and I wanted to know more. Like he was just one of those people on our path, right? Yeah. That awaken you to why you're here in this world when we're young and we haven't got a clue. Because I never thought that I wanted to heal anybody at that stage. When I look back on my life, Mum dies when I'm 16, Dad's pissed off. I've moved in with my boyfriend. I'm 16 years old. All my friends are still at home with their parents, and they're all coming to my place and they're all pouring their hearts out, right? And I'm already working as the healer.
Yeah.
And,
and you don't even
pouring
know it.
them. I didn't even know it.
Yeah.
I just didn't even know. I'm listening to them and like, yeah, have another glass of wine. Yeah. Let me make you some pate. I used to make pate in those days. I'm a vegan now, but I used to think I was so sophisticated. I used to drink port and eat pate.
Yeah.
And all my friends were coming over and pouring their hearts out. Like I was running this little healing center at the time, and I didn't even realize I was doing it. It was so funny when you look back on your life, right? Yeah. So I don't know. That's how it started. It's been a long journey, darling.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's lots to talk about. There's lots to say. Yeah, but I've been getting into the galactic conversation on the shows, as you know. And I know that you're really interested in that.
Big time, big time.
Yeah.
I want to go through like each topic that you talk about in the show, and I even talk about on this show, and get your thoughts on it. But what's one topic that really gets you excited to talk about?
Well, at the moment, it's the ET topic. At the moment, because I was in my 30s. I was running a thing called the Academy of Light, which was a Monday meditation and talk night where some people had started and had been running for about 9 years. And we'd book a guest teacher, we'd have a meditation, we'd listen to a talk, and then we'd socialize. Oh, I just looked at the clock, 5:55. I knew that I was here to teach people deliberate creation. So what does that mean? To teach people about the power of their thoughts and how they manifest their world, how they create their world. And I listened to a lot of topics during that time. And I had a lot of friends that were really into the galactic conversation, spotting UFOs or channeling aliens. I mean, I used to go up to Byron Bay and we used to have balls and dress up like our favorite alien or our higher self. And, it was really happening. But I was never really into it until probably about 7 years ago, I think, 5 or 7, I don't know. But it seems recent, in the last 10 years anyway, where I just woke up one day and I was just completely obsessed with the alien conversation. And they have said to me that this topic that I talk about, taking our power back to be the deliberate creators of our reality, is the most important thing humans need to remember at this time on Earth. So actually, my message was always aligned with their agenda in a way. So when people say, how are the ETs helping humanity, they want to enlighten our minds, because they have this mental agility. If you're a telepathic being, right, how do you send a stream of thought to someone so that someone receives only that and doesn't sort of hack into the rest of your brain?
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine the agility of consciousness that they have? How do you dematerialize and rematerialize your body? How do you walk through walls? How do you beam me up, Scotty? How do you heal your body instantly? Like, they are so far advanced, and they want humanity to evolve. And that means that we have to drop the fear and the war, and we have to raise our vibe and really get with the program about how to use this thing between our ears called our mind and our brain and our energy and our consciousness. What I'm seeing on Earth at the moment is that humans they think they're really bright. We think we're so bright, but we haven't connected our intellect with our spirit or our heart or our consciousness. And so we come up with these bright ideas thinking it's a good idea, but it's not really connected to what's good for the all, and how humanity is evolving as a collective. It seems like a good idea, and so I was just watching Mark Zuckerberg this morning on Facebook talking about his new plan. And it seems fun and like a brilliant idea. AI, he's really into AI. But I kept thinking, so you want to lock everyone on a computer playing these like games, and it's more interactive, and he has the Oculus glasses and everything, instead of getting back to nature and like being out there amongst the world. It's like he's bringing the world online, which has kind of happened in the last couple of years, hasn't it? As we've all been locked in, we've all been online. And after I watched it and did some work this morning, that's, like I said, I've got beachhead. I just thought, I got to get out there and interact with the world, like with nature, because it can't be about sitting at home on a box for the rest of your life. Like, because he's creating this metaverse, he calls it, where you create avatars. And I'm thinking of all these people that are really grossly overweight and fat and unhealthy because they're on a computer all day, but their avatars look beautiful. And there's something really wrong about it. I don't know.
I'm with you. When I was looking into it this morning as well, and
right.
It's not natural, it's taking humanity down a totally wrong path.
Right.
I've always said that we need to devolve to evolve. We need to get back to nature. We need to start living on land, but I'm going to get to that a little bit later as well. So I've got a good question for you there. But one of the topics that you talk about is near-death experiences. On your show. What is, in your opinion, what's the purpose of near-death experiences that millions of people that they've had these experiences throughout history?
It's a serious sledgehammer moment, wake-up call, near-death experiences. Of the hundreds of people I've spoken to who have, I don't know if I've spoken to hundreds of near-death experiences, but many, every single time it is a spiritual wake-up call for them. Like one of the most famous ones is Howard Storm. So he's been talking about his near-death experience for 40 years. He's got to be in his 70s now, I think, Howard. I'm sorry if you're not, you might be in your late 60s. But anyway, he had a near-death experience when he was 38 in Paris. He was an art lecturer. He was an artist, and he taught art. And he took a group of students to Paris to learn about the art in Paris. And he got really sick and died in hospital, basically. He had this extensive near-death experience. And he didn't lead a horrible life, but he had this hellish experience, right? But he wasn't an awful person. He was just your average self-centered, egoic person that thought life was all about him and how talented he is. And, can I get another award for my art? And don't you think I'm amazing? But not specifically a narcissist, just your normal guy. But his life was to be a life of service. And he, again, was going down that path of it's all about how great I am as an artist. And don't you think I'm great? So his near-death experience just woke him up, and he came back and became a minister. He just didn't know how to be of service spiritually to people without being a minister back then, 40 years ago. He didn't really like the constraints of the church because he couldn't talk about aliens and he couldn't talk about his near-death experience in the church. But it was a serious wake-up call, and he dedicated his life to service. And so he for 40 years, he's gone into hospice and he's held people's hands as they've died, and he's counseled people. Like, instead of his life being about him and how great his art is, his life completely turned around, and he was there to be of service to people. So near-death experiences are a sledgehammer moment, spiritual wake-up call, but they also educate many people as to who we are. And one of the things I used to do before I had the show, I think, was if I was ever feeling down, I would go on YouTube and I'd listen to people's near-death experiences. And as they spoke about where we come from or where they went, they would just speak about love. They would just say, Oh, it was so beautiful. It was more beautiful than I can describe. The love I felt, the love I felt, the love. And I would listen to them. And as I was listening to them, I'd just start feeling that love. And it was just that reminders from home, like, you come from love, you are love, you're safe, we're love, 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 love. You just can't get it enough. And so many have that experience of being absolutely encompassed by love, is love, everything is love. And then they come back into this third dimensional experience, and it's a bit of a like stark, it's like a baby being born from the worn womb to being out in the cold and then being slapped on the ass.
Yeah.
It's like this stark coming back into this world where fear dominates, right? That's what's dominating this world, is fear. And that's what the ETs ask us to change. And that's what spirit asks us to change. And that's what, you know, the guides ask us to change, is to turn down the fear. Like it's just been, you know, up to, we're turning down the fear so that love can be more of a dominant force in this world. So near-death experiences just remind people of the love that they are, where they come from, and how to really live that love as they live their daily lives. It's like a serious sledgehammer moment wake-up call, because there's not too many people, I have spoken to a few, but there's not too many that have a near-death experience without some absolute trauma happening to them, like being hit by a truck and being dragged under the truck and 24 bones are broken multiply. Like Howard got really, really sick, and his guts were on fire. He was that sick, and he just, you know, like the way people die is so awful. So there's so many people that say, I want a near-death experience without having without having to like the pain, right?
Yeah.
Which is completely possible, and many people do it, and then they call them spiritually transformative experiences, or astral, like you can astral travel and, you know, leave your body and go to heavenly realms. I mean, there's many people that have done the near-death experience without having to die painfully to do it. But
well, even with the pain, you know, I've heard stories of, you know, people that they've described this eject button that just automatically happens, and we just instantly, the soul knows when to leave, you know, before the real pain starts. So that's a really interesting aspect as well.
There's a girl up your way, I'm pretty sure she's in Queensland, long blonde hair, can't remember. I had her on the show a few years ago, you might have met her, that was hit by a car. And she had a very galactic near-death experience. And she said that the car hit her and she saw her body in the car go off in this, but she was standing in the same spot. It's like she's like physically the car hit her and off her body went up the road, but she's standing on the road. It's like when the car hit her, her body's just like, do you know what I mean? Like her soul was standing there, but her body kept going. And she's she's kind of looking, going, huh? Yeah. So she felt no pain. Yeah. So the soul, if you like, or the consciousness sort of jumped out of the body just before impact. So she didn't feel the pain of the impact, and she witnessed it. So that's fascinating. There's many people that have witnessed their death. And even I had Garnet. I'll get Garnet on your show. Garnet's one of my favorite. He was a corporate lawyer for 36 years, and then his spirit guide woke him up and he flies him around the cosmos and shows him like anything, like you can't imagine what he shows him. But he went to spirit, he goes to spirit in his astral body, he goes to a heavenly world, and he spoke to Marie Antoinette, right, in spirit, and she was saying that before she was beheaded, her soul left the body and she witnessed her beheading. So so that often happens, like before you die or feel the pain or the impact of death, if it's some violent death, you don't actually feel it. You just like pop out, you know, you pop out of the body beforehand. Yeah. So she said she was like, she saw her head roll off the thing from above, like, oh, okay.
And it's so interesting now, due to, you know, technology, YouTube, that we can, this is a time in history where we can hear these stories and share this. You know, and
exactly.
The collective consciousness is rising through that as well.
Yeah. What fascinates you about near-death experiences? Have you sort of looked into them?
I'm so fascinated by the same level of stories that have happened. Like you said before, the ultimate feeling of love and what happens when we go home. You know, who we really are, And yeah, I've always been fascinated by all that.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, how consciousness and the spirit, which is leading up to the next question as well, how they, you know, how they're connected, and the two separate things, but one at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We as humans, we just have a tiny glimpse of how magnificent we are, like who we are as multi-dimensional aspects, extensions of the creator, the infinite one creator. Like we're playing in so many different worlds simultaneously. You know, many star seeds call themselves star seeds, identify with themselves as being ET souls here on Earth. And that's because their consciousness or their soul are playing in other worlds in a different, you know, in a different time, in a different space, in a different vibratory experience. And then they've elected to come to Earth at this time to be a part of the shift in human consciousness, because Earth at this time is like the greatest show in the cosmos at the moment, as we shift out of the fear back into the more alignment with love. And there are many souls from all over the cosmos that are here to help us do that. And what's really interesting, I had Sheila Seppi on the show a couple of weeks ago. My guides have said to me that that Source sent millions of souls to be a part of this shift, but many of them got caught up in the human drama and just forgot who they are. Like, you just forget your brilliance. You just forget that you're love and that you're infinite creative potential. And you get caught up in the human drama of the fear and the resentment. And she's a walk-in. She walked into this body of a 38-year-old mother who had 3 children as a galactic point of consciousness or soul or whatever you want to call it. And she said that the soul that was inhabiting the body was an Arcturian soul. So it was a evolved soul that just got caught up in the programming of Earth, right? And the body was really sick, was crippled, and had cancers and tumors and all sorts of diseases. So when Sheila took on the body, she had to renovate the body. You know, she had to like clean up all the mess that the other soul or point of consciousness soul aspect had left behind. But that soul was a enlightened soul, but just didn't know how to cope with the Earth environment. Happens.
Well,
a lot.
you know, I feel like science is catching up now. You know, they're looking into consciousness, what is consciousness, and everything.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
and it's fascinating. In your sense, who are we really? If you had to describe who we really are.
We are infinite creative potential. We are an extension of the infinite one creator, which is the creator of all that is. We are an extension of that energy. Many of the gurus, I went to India years ago, and Sai Baba, who was a big guru across the world, love him or hate him, he impacted millions of people. He would say it this way. He would say, I am God, and so are you. The only difference is I remember and you forgot. But we are infinite creative potential. And when we remember that we are the creators of our reality, we take back. We just start to take back who we are, because we've been so convinced of our limitation. We've been so programmed. You know what I mean? We've been, from the moment we hit this world, we have been programmed into who we think we are. And awakening is not so much taking on anything, it's letting go of the programs, and then the soul aspect, or the point of consciousness that knows who it is, starts to awaken within the body and within the mind and starts to shine. So enlightenment, it's not about getting anything, it's about letting go. It's about letting go of the programs. I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, I can't do that, I'm afraid, life's a bitch, and then you die, all that stuff that we believe. All that stuff that we believe. Yeah.
Exactly. Through your own, helping people grow, making people grow, helping people grow through your healing and everything, and your spiritual practice. How would you describe how the soul, like the spirit and the consciousness, is connected?
What a great question.
And what separates it? And then brings it back together again.
So say that again. How is the consciousness?
How does consciousness and the spirit differ, but then come back together again?
That's a great question. How does consciousness and the spirit differ? Well, everyone has a different idea of what they believe spirit and soul and consciousness is. So I think we're all talking about the same thing. We just label it differently. Consciousness is the ability, I guess that in English, like the word conscious is to be awake and aware. Yeah. So when we talk about consciousness, it's being more awake and aware of who you are. The spirit and the soul. So the soul is that part of you that incarnates into physical life experiences. The Egyptians used to call it the Ka, spelled Ka, the Ka body. It is the part of the higher self or the soul or the spirit, if you like, that incarnates into different experiences. The greater part of us never incarnates into all these different experiences. It's like the radio station sends signals into all these different radios, and then you turn the radio on and the signal is animating the radio, and so you're hearing the music. Or you could say the same with television. It's like the television station is beaming a signal, and when you turn the television on or the internet or your computer, you're receiving the signal. So this is what we are. We are inside this box, this body, this computer. And this computer, which is conscious in its own self, it's intelligent, is receiving a signal. And that signal is the signal of our soul. Wow. Now that soul is running through a filter. It's running through a filter of a mind, body, personality, ego complex. And so that as that energy, as that electricity or energy is being filtered through this perspective, this egoic body, mind, complex perspective, it is being expressed as Roberto, I look like this, I have this, and then we're being programmed. I have this idea of who I think I am. But if we can come back to the signal as this pure positive energy that is not attached to anything that the mind, body, personality complex is doing, it's just playing a game, if you like. It's like being inside the matrix. But the bigger part of us, like the television station or the radio station, never incarnates into earth. So that would be like the oversoul or the higher self. It's just sending a signal, a soul aspect that's animating the body. And so as the signal enters, the body is animated and we do stuff and we believe stuff. And then when we die, that signal is rescinded. It's like that signal just goes back to where it comes from, like turning the radio station off or the television off. So, but we play in many different worlds. And even in this one world, there are many aspects to this world. So there's the physical aspect, which is a denser vibration or a slower vibration. And then when you pop out and you're in your astral body, you're now still in this world, but you're now in a different aspect of this world, which is a higher vibration. So this is what happens with ghosts or dead people or astral travelers. It's like when you move out of this frequency, this speed of frequency or speed of vibration into your astral body, it's like a fan. When you put the fan on and the rotors go really fast, they become invisible. So you now become invisible to the people that are vibrating at this rate of vibration in this world. So dead people, for instance, like your dead mum could be sitting on the couch right next to you, but you can't see her because she's vibrating at a different rate, but she's still a part of this world and in that identity. And this is what we get really confused about as humans. We think that this is all there is, right? This world. And so we think that dead mum or dad or friend or whatever is still that same person as we identified them in their body, with that same personality, and they look the same and stuff like that. But of course we're not. We're so much more than that. So, but we can play in different astral worlds and with different identity and different frequencies, just like we're playing in this world. But there is just this stream of consciousness or energy that's animating all the different levels.
Yeah.
Is this making sense?
I'm telling you, that is the most articulate, beautiful response to that question I've ever heard. That was amazing.
I've asked this question of my guides, and they have extensively shown me exactly how it works. And and I keep thinking of doing. I want to draw a diagram because they've shown me how it works. And people ask me, "Who are your guides?" So when people ask me that, they're thinking that I'm talking to some being, right? Like a Arcturian or a Palladian or Jesus Christ or Mother Mary or Archangel Michael or some identity. But I'm not speaking to an identity. I'm speaking beyond identity. And they've showed me, it's like if you can imagine 3 levels of existence. So the one level of existence is the physical world. There's many more levels, but I'm just simplifying it. One level of existence is the physical world, which means Earth, other planets, like the physical world, the world that we see as physical, which is this world and all the other worlds. Like it's a vibratory experience. And then beyond that are like the astral worlds and the spiritual worlds. And they all have levels of experience based in identity. Hang on, I'm going to sneeze. Hang on one sec.
You're right.
Didn't happen. It's
gone. I hate when that happens.
And so we get to play in identity in all these different worlds, like the physical worlds, the astral worlds, the spiritual planes. And as we move in frequency, as we speed up our energy, our frequency, our vibration, we move to worlds that become less and less focused in identity. And it's not even separateness, because once you leave this physical world, you understand you're one with everything, but you're still identified as sort of like a separate being, even though you understand the oneness of being. And then you move to a world which becomes the causal world. That causal world is the world of just pure thought, like just thought energy. So it was explained in the book, The Law of One, that Ra, who was channeling through, have you heard of the Law of One material?
Yes, yeah.
Channeled material that happened in the 70s, I think, through Carla Ruckett. So she was channeling a being that identified himself, herself, itself as Ra. And they said that I am the social memory complex of Venus. And I loved that name, social memory complex. So Venus lives, and all the beings that lived on Venus, some of them are humanoid, for the whole time that Venus sort of existed in the cosmos. We're still seeing Venus there. So remember, when you were outside of third density and on physical life experience, time and space is very different. But all the thoughts and the memories and experiences of all those people became this entity of thought, a complex, a memory complex, and a stream of consciousness. And that's what my guides have said they are. So if you pierce the veil of the physical worlds and the astral worlds and the spiritual worlds, and you go up to where the world becomes just thought energy, or the causal world, that's who communicates to me. And they said, we can give you name and identity. Like when I used to say, who are you? Who are you? You know, like Jesus would step in, even though I didn't even really believe in Jesus because I wasn't religious. He would show himself in the form of Jesus. But he says, you know, I've been many different forms. This is just one of them that you can identify with as a spiritual teacher, right?
Yeah.
I could come as Buddha or Muhammad or Krishna or whatever. But yeah, so yeah, everything is thought that is manifesting. Everything is thought manifested. So as we experience this world, we're just experiencing thought energy that we're perceiving as reality. Is this making sense?
Yeah, I'm keeping up with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the question again? I think I've answered your question.
You've definitely answered it. And no, it's really beautiful what you said. You really encapsulated it, because I went to see David Icke live a few years ago, and he was talking about it. He was talking about, who we really are. And he said it pretty similar to what you said. He said that imagine like you're holding like a binoculars or like a huge telescope or something, and all you do is just put it down. So our life is just through one lens, and all you have to put it down, and then you just become, so much bigger and so much more, and back to love.
I have to tell you a story that happened to me. So when I was in my late 30s, someone had said to me, "Oh, you got to read this book called Journey of Souls or something," right? So I went to the bookshop before the internet, and I said, "Now someone told me to read a book, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's called something about souls and journeys." And then she goes, "A soul's journey?" And I said, "Yeah, that's the book." And it wasn't the book that someone asked me to read, but it was an amazing book, right? It was about this guy who lived in India in the end of the war, English guy, rich English guy, and his brother was killed in the war. And this Indian man in a turban turned up at his door, and his butler, I loved this butler answered the door, and he said, "I've come to speak to the master about his brother, who he had just died." He was literally holding the telegram saying, "Your brother's been killed." He said, I'm going to take you to meet," he obviously led him into the house, and he said, "I'm here to take you to meet your brother." And he said, "I've just been informed that my brother has died." And he said, "Yeah, I'll come back tonight and I'll take you to where your brother is." So he came back in his astral form, took this guy out of his physical body into his astral form, and took him to meet his dead brother in a astral world. And the dead brother said, "Yeah, I was killed. I was in the plane, and I was shot down. And before my plane crashed, I jumped out. And now I'm going to Paris, and I'm having a great time, and I'm dancing in Paris." And he was in this sort of astral earth, and he was having this great time. So his brother was really happy. So the guy wasn't sad about his dead brother anymore, because he'd been to where his dead brother was in an astral earth world, and he was just having a great old time dancing in Paris and going to restaurants and stuff. And so this guy in the turban said, "I'll take you to some other astral worlds and show you what else is there." So he took him to the Davic realm, where all the nature spirits live. And the book is beautiful like this. It explores some of the different realms, not all of them, but just a few. And I remember thinking, I want to do that. I want someone to come and take me. I so want to do that. And every night I would meditate. Every night I would say, "Please, please, please." And just for the longest time, it didn't happen.
But I think stuff like that happens, especially with us mystics. We want that experience, But I think that it happens when you're not ready,
when you least expect it. Well, that's it. Well, it did happen one night.
You'll meet somebody or something will happen, and you just won't be ready for it.
Well, one night it happened. It sort of happened when I stopped asking for it, which is how law of attraction works. When you're asking for something, you're actually putting an energy into the universe that says, "I don't have this," right? So when you stop asking, then it comes to you. This is like principle number one, law of attraction. When you stop asking, it comes. So I stopped asking, and it came. And I was taken to a realm where Shirley MacLaine was there. It was funny. And I said, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And she said, "Oh God, Karen, do you think there was any coincidence that mine were the first books that you ever picked up?" And she was so flippant about it. I remember, and I went, "Oh no." Anyway, and so we were at this big dinner table, and the guy with the turban was there, the same guy that was in the book, and all these people. And so I'm having this lovely exchange in an astral world with all these people, which we all do every night, by the way.
When we
just
dream.
Don't remember. Yeah, every night we're hanging out in astral worlds.
Yeah.
But I remember being at this table because Shirley MacLaine, and she was playing movies of her dancing because she was a dancer, and I used to be a dancer, and I felt like there was an earthquake. And I remember grabbing the table and looking up at the people and saying, "What's happening?" And then the next minute, I'm back in my body, but I'm not in my body. I'm outside my body and in my body simultaneously. I cannot say that I was looking down at my body because I wasn't. But I was out of my body and in my body. I could see through all the walls. All the walls were transparent and translucent. And I could see my 8-year-old daughter waking up and walking down the hall because I'm looking through the walls. and coming to wake me up. And I realized in that moment, oh my God, my body has called me back because my daughter's just about to wake me up. And there was just like this, oh my God. But afterwards, I'm chatting with my mob about what the hell just happened. And they said, just like David Icke said, they said, experience is just an aspect of focus. Did you notice you didn't travel anywhere? You don't astral travel. You're already in that realm having those experiences, but your lens or your telescope is focused on this physical experience. So that's all you see and that's all you experience. But when you move the camera lens and look into another world, you now start to experience. But it's all happening simultaneously. Like we are spirit and physical at the same time. So we are in our astral and physical at the same time. We are human and ET at the same time. We are all of it, and it's just where your focus goes, that's what you experience. And I remember they said, it's just like a camera. You point your camera and you only see what's in that lens. But when you move the camera, you'll see something different. It's the same with that. And I just remember thinking, wow, how simple is it all, right?
Very simple.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you break it down, it can become very simple.
Yeah.
Talking about all these supernatural and spiritual topics, being a mentor yourself and healing people. I've always believed that we need to, restructure the way of the educational system, because that's where I think the real problems of this earth is, with everything that's going on, not the earth, but humanity in general. If you could, come up with a new curriculum for kids that are coming through, how would you plan it out?
Well, Roberto, I think that's happening now exponentially as people are making choices that the mainstream industries are not liking. They're being forced to start their own experiences, their own schools, if you like. I have a girlfriend who has a beach house just up on the Central Coast, and she'd taken the boys up there, she's got 3 boys during the holidays, and then lockdowns happened. So she stayed up there while her husband was in the city working. She was up there with the 3 boys, and she said to the school, I'm homeschooling them, right? We were on a Zoom call because we all belong to a group. And I said, what are you teaching them? She said, I'm teaching them to meditate. I'm teaching them to plant vegetables.
Beautiful.
I'm taking them to the beach. I'm showing them all the different trees and all the different stuffs in nature, and then she said the same thing. She said, this is how it starts, right? This is how the new education system starts. And I'm like, right. And so the school's ringing up every day saying, have the kids done their homework? And she's like, yeah. But she's not teaching them the school curriculum. and she works, she's a barrister, like she works in a pretty corporate job, but she's teaching them to meditate, and they're going on these guided meditations, and the kids are like, she's like taking them in elevators down into their subconscious, and the kids are like, oh, I'm in a gold elevator, and oh, my elevator. And then they're looking inside their subconscious, and what do they believe to be true, and they're exploring their subconscious and their conscious, and taking them out into the universe and traveling, let's go fly through the universe, and let's go to Venus, or let's go to the sun, just the power of the mind. This is something that's not taught in schools. The power of the mind. And yeah, we need to teach this in schools. And kids are so good at it. They're so good at it. And yet books are thrown in front of them, and they're asked to read this crap and regurgitate it and just not use their creative ability, their
imagination as well.
Their imagination. Right. And and it's just got to change. It's just got to change. It's got to change. And there are many schools starting up all over the world. Have you seen them? The vision schools, the inner vision schools, where the kids are blindfolded and
they're seeing everything that's there.
I know. Isn't that fabulous?
That's
what I would teach, Roberta. That's something I'm.
Yeah, I was listening to you and Mary Rodwell talking about it, and one of the kids, they had that blindfold over their eyes, and somebody opened the Where's Wally book, and she was describing everything that was in the book, like Finding Wally, like that, and
Yeah.
Amazing.
And they play sport completely blindfolded. You know, Caroline Corey has made this beautiful documentary called Superhuman, Making the Invisible Visible. And in the documentary, she talks about a friend of hers who had gone blind, or almost completely blind, but not completely. She could see shadows. But she taught her that inner vision thing, and it restored her sight. Not her, like she started to see through her third eye instead of using her physical eye, because her physical eyes were gone, but she could see. And there's so many applications to it, not just for the blind and for children. And that's what needs to be taught in school, Roberto. Yeah, like exactly. That stuff, right? Let's do it. Let's get it happening.
Let's start it. New curriculum, new school. Let's get it going.
Absolutely. The time is now. The time is now. Yeah.
Going back to UFOs. So what's your opinion on everything that's going on right now with UFOs and the intelligences that are here right now?
Do you mean as far as disclosure?
Yes, as far as disclosure, but also, you know, their own journey and what's their end game as well.
Well, we are their creation. Like when I say we, not our soul, but the experience that we're having on planet Earth is their creation. And so they're watching. They don't come to observe. They're like mum and dad. They're overseeing us. They're watching humanity, you know, through the eons of time, because many physical ETs live for hundreds, sometimes thousands of years. And so they're watching, like their one lifespan is like thousands of our years. They're watching us come and go in these, you know, these tiny little lives, like 80 years or whatever, die and reincarnate and die. They're watching us evolve, and they are overseeing the whole thing. But yet they have this agreement that they can't interfere in the evolution of the planetary system. They can guide, they can assist, but they can't interfere. It's a bit like they're our parents. It's like how our parents should be, really. You've got to guide your kids, but you really shouldn't tell them how to think or how to live their life. Most parents don't understand that. They think they have their right to tell their kids how to think. But you've got to give your kids the freedom to make choices and do what they like. And then when they fuck up or when they mess up and they come to you with advice and say, oh, you know, can I have some advice? Then you're there to give advice from your supposedly more advanced perspective. And that's like the ETs, right? So when I said to my mob years ago, why would I want to speak to ETs when I can speak directly to you guys? Yeah. Who have got, you know, the knowledge of the universe, this stream of consciousness from throughout all time. And they said, because they are incarnate into a physical world that is more highly evolved, and they're actually living it, experiencing it in the moment, in the now. Wouldn't you want advice from somebody that's living it in a physical form? And I went, oh, yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I would. Yeah. So how's the experience for you? It's like spirit guides can guide you, but then ETs are sort of living a higher intelligence and living it in a physical, you know, there's many different levels of ET consciousness, and some are in light form. They look like spirit guides because they just come as points of light. They vibrate at a different frequency and they don't necessarily have physical form, but many have physical form, like the Greys and the Venusians and the Palladians and many of the Arcturians. There's just so many different points of consciousness. I mean, it's just infinite. It's just crazy infinite about how many forms of consciousness. But with all of them,
sometimes I would think like there, you know, all the ones you've just mentioned, and can you imagine all the ones we haven't even heard of?
Oh yeah, there's just crazy amounts, crazy. But with the ones that oversee this Earth, there's like the Sirians, Palladians, Arcturians, Orions, obviously the Reptilians, the Zetas, the Zeta Reticuli. But what I've found out from talking to many people on the shows is that the grey form, you know, humanoid form, is in all different points of the galaxy. Like they come from, like often you'll experience a grey and you say, where are you from? They'll say the Pleiades, or they can say the Andromedan galaxy, or Arcturus, or the Zeta Reticuli galaxy. I don't know, Sue will come on your show if we ask her to, but she speaks to a group of grey humanoids that come from Zeta Reticuli too, but have a base under the Sandia mountain, and they've been observing Earth for thousands of years, and they're physically, in this
under
world.
The mountain or in the mountain?
Yeah, under the mountain.
Oh.
Yeah, well, in the mountain, under the mountain.
Yeah.
In New Mexico, but there are many bases all over the world that have aliens in there, physical aliens there. They're all over the Earth. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. And it's so funny that people say, do you think aliens will come to Earth? Oh, they've never
They're already
left.
here. They've never left. They've always been here.
Of them. And there are some that have this technology, which blew me away in one of Garnett's books, this holographic technology that I could be looking at you, or you could be looking at me, and I'm actually a blue alien, that when I turn on this technology, this vibration technology, you perceive a human body. You perceive and yet I could turn off the frequency, the hologram, and I would look like a blue alien. So we're walking around with aliens all around us. Around us. Like they're everywhere.
Yeah. That's right.
And then we look up and we say, can we see a ship in the sky? It's like you might be sitting next to one on the bus. Yeah. So
the truth is not out there, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. And many, 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 points of consciousness, as I said before, that identify themselves as star seeds, that have hung out in different galaxies, in different worlds, have incarnated into human form and are wearing a human body. And I've spoken to many people like that on the show. There's Susie Hansen in New Zealand. Have you heard of Susie Hansen? That she calls herself a dual soul, and she's a grey soul. She's a Zeta soul in a human form. And they've come specifically to be a part of many different programs. There's not one agenda. There's several agendas going on. There's the hybrid program. There are some species that evolved down a timeline where they evolved out of their DNA the ability to be more emotional, and they became very logical. And so they're trying to breed back the ability for their physical form to experience emotion. So there's a hybrid program taking the human DNA and mixing it with their DNA so that they can reform. There's just many agendas going on. And then we're upgrading the human body. So there's many hybrids on Earth that have their human form is mixed with DNA of a more evolved alien species, which is giving the physical body more abilities like psychic abilities, empathic abilities, and stuff like that. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on.
I love it. I love these conversations, and this is what I live for. I believe that way back in the day, we had an internet in really close relationship with these beings. They walked among us. We had sit downs with them like we're doing now.
And it was depicted all over the pyramids.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah. And I believe that I don't know what happened. There's theories that I've thought about, but either we've evolved and we've gone, and there's been a remainder group that's had to evolve as well, and amnesia kicked in and we forgot that history.
Well, a couple of things. Yeah, go on.
No, sorry, you go.
A couple of things happened. As these superior life forms and intellects came to Earth to be of assistance to humanity and lived amongst us, the humans used to depict them as gods. And our consciousness was devolving at the time. So we were falling more and more into that amnesia. And so the collective, the Galactic Federation of Worlds, decided to move away from the Earth experience so that humans couldn't see them anymore as we experience supposedly now on Earth, so that we could evolve ourselves without feeling like they were gods and they were doing it for us. So it was really about, I'm getting this image of, like when the baby starts to walk, you hold the baby's hand, and then at some stage you have to let go of the baby and the baby falls and hits its head, but stands up again and tries and tries and tries until it does it itself. It's a bit like that. Like they were holding our hand and trying to teach us. And then we're being humans, we're revering these beings as gods, which is depicted all over the walls of Egypt, right? In Egypt. And they removed their physical presence from this world. They never really left this world. They just removed the ability for us to see them in physical form. Yeah. We always had psychic or telepathic contact with them. Anyone does all the time if you choose to. Like that's always been there, just so that the baby could learn to walk without the mother holding its hand. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've often had those same thoughts that we needed to run, by ourselves before we could, before we could fly. And that goes to the next question. Like, what needs to happen, in your opinion, for us to get back to that beautiful space of close interaction with them, and
we need to let go of
going
density.
back to the stars.
We need to let go of density. We need to let go of fear. We need to move into peace. They experience life in a different frequency, and for many too, it's hard for them to be here. There's a fabulous book called Beyond the Light Barrier, written by a woman in South Africa who was a Venusian who incarnated into a human body, and then met her Venusian lover called Archon, who came in a spacecraft and picked her up, and she had a baby to him, and he took her to Alpha Centauri, where there were 7 or 8 planets around their star. Maybe there were 7 planets in one star in the Alpha Centauri system. And he lived on one of the planets. Their world was a highly evolved world, and they were like tall humanoids. But he said that when he came to Earth, he had to land on the highest mountaintop because the pollution on Earth was just too overwhelming, because they just weren't used to it. It's kind of like going from pristine sort of modern city in the West and going to like the slums of India. It's a very different environment, and your immune system can't cope with it. Like the physical body, you find it hard to breathe. So it's a bit like it's like them coming to Earth too. And they come into this world where we're marinating in fear, and there's, we're just swimming in fear. And for us, it's our default setting, right? No biggie. It's just life. But for them, they don't live in that frequency, and it's hard for them to be here too. So we have to shift our vibratory rate, and we have to move into a more loving, peaceful, unified world in order for them to return to Earth and to live amongst us as physical beings. I mean, they're here physically, but they're not, moving amongst the collective. They've created their own environment here on Earth, like a bit like the Ponte under the Sandia Mountain. It's a bit like empaths too, that move in circles where you all think alike. And then when you go out into the mainstream, the empaths tend to suffer from all the negative thoughts of other people. It's a bit like that. We don't need to suffer, but so we need to shift our consciousness and move out of fear back into love.
Beautiful answer.
Stop trying to kill each other.
Yeah, exactly. Let's try to stop these bloody wars.
Yeah.
If you could question, not on the topic, but an interesting one anyway. If you could have a sit down like this over a glass of wine with 3 people throughout history, dead or alive, who would you pick?
Oh God, 3 people dead or alive. That's a difficult question to ask. Look, Jesus comes to mind, but then I say to him, "You're on tap anyway. I don't need to sit down with you." Nobody else comes to mind, nobody else comes to mind. It's funny, when you've got access to infinite intelligence, you can dial up any form of intelligence you like and have a conversation with them. Yeah. So just because someone's dead doesn't mean I can't talk to them. I was chatting to Costa on the show this week, and he was talking about Sergeant Clifford Stone. Remember him, who left his body recently?
He just passed as well.
Yeah, but he popped in. And he was saying, I would have loved to have asked Clifford Stone that question. And Clifford said, You can ask me now.
I'm right
I'm
here.
here. Ask me anything you like. He said, from this perspective, I've got a broader, scope here. Ask me anything you like. I'm here. So when you've got that sort of access, you don't sort of think about who you want to talk to. I say Jesus because, or Sananda, even though he's beyond the identity of Jesus, because in a session once with a girlfriend, even before I even kind of believed in Jesus, like I believed in him, I just thought people that spoke about Jesus and told me that Jesus loved me, I wanted to punch them because I thought they were God botherers. Do you know what I mean? So I had that sort of perspective. And then in a few regression sessions, I was taken back to the crucifixion. And then this time with a girlfriend, she's saying, what are you seeing? What are you seeing? And I said, nothing really. And she said, yes, you are. What are you seeing? I said, I've got Jesus here. And he's just saying, be with me. Just be with me. And I'm like, what? And he's just saying, just don't ask me any questions. Just be with me. Just be inside my energy. And so that is what I'm really looking for, to be with a being that is pure love and bliss, and just to be in that energy. It doesn't, like, you don't even need a glass of wine and a conversation, just to be in that energy, that field of infinite love. Yeah.
Without words, just the feeling of it.
Just the feeling of it. Yeah, it's a bit like watching those near-death experiences and just remembering that home vibration, that experience of unconditional love.
It's funny, you see a lot of people are uncomfortable with that silence, just to sit there with somebody and look at them and, without saying anything, and just feel the energy that person is bringing to the table.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Is that your little one in the background?
That's my little girl.
How old is she?
She's getting ready for bed, I think, soon. So.
How old is she?
Nearly 8 months.
Oh,
yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Have you only got one?
Just this is our first one. Yeah.
Oh, so sweet.
He's come in with her little cousin. They're 2 weeks apart, so with my sister.
Little buddies.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful thing to watch your kids grow and to be there for them. So it's a whole new journey.
Absolutely. It's the most beautiful journey. It really is. Yeah. So enjoy every minute of it.
No, thank you. I do every day. Every time I leave, it just breaks my heart. And then when I come back from work, it's just the best feeling ever.
Oh, that's something I do when I'm sort of switched off work. What I do to pass the time is I go on YouTube and I look at babies.
Yeah, there you go.
I remember being at a conference, like a healing conference once, and we all had stalls and we were doing healing work, and I just didn't like it. I didn't like sitting there waiting for people to come up to my booth and like ask for a healing. I just felt like, I don't know, I was just on display. I felt like a bit of a fish in a fish market. So I shut my booth down and I just went around and looked at all the other booths and started talking to all the other people. I remember a friend of mine turned up, her name was Karen, with her kids. One was a baby at the time, right? This is years ago. He's a teenager now. And I just remember cuddling him and squeezing him and talking to him and just enjoying his presence and thinking that was the best thing that happened all day. Like all these.
The energy that they bring, it's just
absolutely.
Absolutely. It's like flowing out of them, like
it's just love, right? Yeah, it's just like they've come from where we come from, and they hold that energy of pure joy, bliss, and love. I mean, obviously they're not pure joy all the time because they're screaming and hungry and all that sort of stuff, but pretty much most of the time they're just that pure love bubble of energy. And I just remember thinking, forget having readings and massages and stuff, just cuddle a baby. That's it. Just cuddle a baby.
Especially when they first wake up. When she first wakes up, it's just like she's just so cuddly and just wants to be near you and feel safe, safe, and it's magic. It's pure magic.
It is. It's pure magic. It is.
I always love to finish with hope. So what messages of hope would you like to give to humanity right now?
We've got this. Love is who we are. Love is our default setting. Love is easy to return to. It's hard. It's much harder to have a stressful thought or a hateful thought than it is to have a loving thought. Love is who we are. And all we have to do is remember that we are love and remember to feel that. And it's as simple as that. We've got this. And anything you want to create, any world you want to create, you can, from that frequency of love and satisfaction and bliss and joy, and just that frequency a baby has, right? Think about a baby. All its needs are met. It just gets everything it wants.
Yeah,
So it gets everything it wants. It's like, and if we can return to that innocence and that same joy and that same vibration, we get anything we want to. Yeah, be as the little children, as he said, the kingdom of heaven or something. I've never read the Bible. I don't know the Bible, but he does pop in every now and then. He quotes from the Bible. I'm like, really? But yeah, that's what he was talking about. The innocent shall inherit, the children shall inherit the earth. It is that frequency of innocence and joy and love and that a child has.
Without being polluted with all the bullshit, you know?
Yeah, right? All the ego that says,
Yeah.
I'm better than you, or I'm not good enough, or baby never feels not worthy or not good enough. It has to be programmed into them, which happens, but they
it comes
always
without
feel,
any racism. It comes without any. They just come with pure love, as you said.
Right.
Yeah.
That's who we all are. Like we're all that. Like returning to that wisdom, returning to that bliss. Yeah, it's easy.
Where can people go and find you and support your work and even become a client if they want to?
Good on you, darling. Just at karenswain.com. You'll see everything there. I do groups on a Sunday morning here in Sydney, which is a Saturday night and afternoon in the US, Saturday night in Europe, Saturday afternoon in the US. I try and find a time zone that kind of, because I speak to people all over the world. And I do private sessions for people that want to learn to speak to their spirit guides or learn about deliberate creation and all that sort of stuff, and talk about it every week online with my little group on a Sunday morning from 8 till 10 Sydney time, which is 9 till 11 Queensland time. No, hang on, I'm an hour in front of you.
You're an hour ahead, yeah.
So it'd be 7 to 9 Queensland time, wouldn't it? Right? Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And and then we've got the show. I do the shows. My show is the shows of a service. It's free with no ads. I just put them out there every week, talking to people from all over the world about all sorts of things. As I said, the galactic conversation has been the one I've been really having it, because we are imminent in having that, disclosure's already happened, but having that full-on mainstream reality that life in the cosmos, we are a part of a cosmic family, and becoming a space-based race again, and having that interaction with our cosmic brothers and sisters, just like we interact with people in different countries, making that's imminent. That's imminent. That's just we're right there now of waking up to that. And the powers that be, the people that think that they control this world, because no one controls this world. No one can control how you think, even though they think that they can control how you think by putting out messages through our television. They can't. They're trying to stop that, because once we reconnect with our cosmic family, they have technologies that is going to destroy a lot of the industry in this world. The pharmaceutical industry will no longer be needed. Healing, right? Healing, instant.
Well, I think that's why everything's happening at the moment with all this, this virus, because they're trying to desperately to hold on to what they've got, because they know it's not going to last.
Absolutely. The petrochemical industry will disappear because of anti-gravitic technology like that. Our food industries will change. And, they just bring with them so much technology. Just like my guide said, they're living this as a physical reality. Don't you want their expertise? Like when I said, why do we need to talk to ETs when we can go straight to spirit? Because they're living it. They have this knowledge and technology that they can share with us. And we're right at the precipice of that opening up. It's all available telepathically now. I speak to my galactic mob all the time. And new energy sources and technologies are being made. and new food is happening. The way we produce food is changing. And obviously energy healing's out there. There's millions of energy healers out there that know how to heal the body instantly. Like I've had cancer and I just changed my thinking and it went away. It's that simple. We don't need drugs. We don't need vaccines to get over a cold. We've got it all inside us. Like when we remember how powerful we are, we can never again be controlled by others who think they can make money out of controlling what we think.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
I'll put all the links below. So everybody go follow Karen, go subscribe to her channel and open your minds, because she's doing some great work.
Thank you, beautiful one. Love your t-shirt. Dream.
Yeah. That's it. Dream, baby.
Hug that baby for me.
I will.
Squeeze that baby for me.
Karen, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and I hope you can come back and we can delve deeper again sometime.
Yeah, let's do this again. We might get a round table together, eh? I was thinking of inviting maybe you and Brandon and some galactic guests and having a bit of a round table about how the ETs are helping this world. Cool. Let's get that together, eh?
Awesome. That'll be awesome.
That'll be awesome.
It'll be an honor to come on and do that with you.
Cool.
All right. Thank you so much. You have an awesome night. I am Roberto from the Mystic Drop. Roberto Roya. You've been listening to Karen SWAIN. Thank you so much, Karen. Bye.
Bye, Darren.